All right, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. How is everyone doing? I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you have an awesome Friday and hope you guys are going into an amazing weekend. I can't believe that it's May 1st. Can you guys believe that we've been doing this distance learning since April 1st, right? Yeah, April 1st, an entire month has been distance learning so far. I can't believe that. Um, But what I wanted to do was I wanted to go over another video with you guys. It's a short video, but I just wanted to stop it at a few different points and explain a few things. Hopefully you thought that the video was helpful yesterday. So let's get into it. From yesterday, we learned that it was not just the sinking of the Lusitania, um, but it was also the Zimmerman telegram. And those few things piled on with each other added pressure to Woodrow Wilson for the United States to join World War One. Okay, so they join, the Allies win in a victory, the Central Powers lose. And so at the end, though, what has to happen, starting a war might be very easy, some may say. It gets right into it. However, ending a war can be very difficult because somebody has to surrender. In this case, it was Germany and Austria-Hungary. And then, though, there's a bunch of pieces and a bunch of things that you need to clean up after a war, right? It's not just a whistle is blown, everybody stops, and everybody returns home. There's a lot of complexities that go into ending a war, and we're going to learn about how the end of World War One really led to World War Two, and then it went on to affect Europe, really for the next 20 years and so on to come. All right, so we'll watch how this war plays out at the end here.
The Treaty of Versailles, 1919.
All right, so even just from the title alone, the Treaty of Versailles. And that word Versailles should look familiar to you. Versailles was the palace that was just outside of Paris. Um, and we all know that same Versailles, the same Versailles that was made famous by Louis XIV, right? That big palace. And we watched we watched a video on that during the French Revolution. So remember when I told you that this palace, specifically this place called the Hall of Mirrors, would be very famous and iconic at the end of World War One? Well, this is where this treaty was signed, at the Palace of Versailles. And then you see, what did the big three want, right? And the big three, we're not talking about Chris Bosh, LeBron, and D Wade here. We're talking about a different big three. All right, and we'll learn who those three members of the big three are in just a second here. All right, so let's get into it.
World War I officially came to an end with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles on June 28, 1919. 32 countries had come together in Paris in January 1919 to hold a conference which would make peace after the First World War. It would be dominated by the Big Three, David.
Now, even before we get into that,
After the First World War, it would be dominated by the Big Three.
these are the big three. All right. We have representatives from France, Great Britain, and the United States. But look at their facial expressions here. And obviously, this is a cartoon, but it's an exaggeration for a reason. If you go from right to left, the facial expressions are happy, content, kind of in the middle. And then the one on the far right, you definitely know is somebody who's angry. All right. And there's going to be a very significant reason why all three of these big three members were depicted like this.
3. David Lloyd George, representing Britain, George Clemenceau, representing France, and Woodrow Wilson, representing the USA. Germany was not invited.
That's going to be key. Germany was not invited to this meeting. So when this meeting is held, the Paris Peace Conference, basically to put Europe back together, the one country, actually Austria-Hungary wasn't invited either, but Germany is going to be the key one. And they were not invited to this meeting to discuss the future of Europe.
The Big Three wanted different things for Germany and disagreed on how harshly they were to be punished, reflecting how their countries were treated in the war. They had to negotiate with each other until there was a compromise.
So the thing is that all three of these countries wanted something different. You have to think that all three of these countries were affected differently from World War One, so they're going to have different feelings and different sentiments, especially towards Germany. Um, if you can, right now, just try to think which country would be the most upset at Germany. Also, try to ponder which country do you think would be the least upset at Germany. So, which country would want to give Germany the strictest, hardest punishment? And then, which country do you think wouldn't really want to punish Germany that bad? Think about that before you press play.
This was difficult because Wilson was opposed to harsh punishment for Germany. The USA had not been involved in the war as long as Britain and France and had not received as much damage. He wanted to prevent another world war by creating the League of Nations based on his 14 points, to ensure Germany would not be destroyed and that Germany shouldn't be blamed for the war. Clemenceau's aims were the harshest of the three, representing the damage Germany had done to France's land and people and its threatening proximity. He wanted revenge and to punish Germany, to return Alsace-Lorraine to France, an independent Rhineland, no League of Nations, Germany to pay huge reparations for the damage and losses caused, the disbandment of the German army so that Germany would never be strong enough to attack France again. Lloyd George was an in-between. This reflected Britain, which had little land damage but high war losses. He wanted a punishment that would be tough enough to please those who wanted to make Germany pay, but would leave Germany strong enough to still trade. Land for Britain's empire, to safeguard Britain's naval supremacy. When the Treaty of Versailles was ready, Germany was shown the document, but there was no negotiation. Their rebuttal ignored. On 28 June 1919, the delegates met at the Hall of Mirrors in the Palace of Versailles near Paris and forced two German representatives to sign it.
All right, so let me go back right. So it said here.
19. Their rebuttal ignored. On 20.
All right, here's our big three. So it says here that all three of these members, and you have to think, if you were the leader of your country, you would want to be signing this document to make peace with others, but you're also going to have your country's best interests at heart. All right, so President Woodrow Wilson on the right, he draws up something called his 14 points. These are 14 points which will hopefully prevent any country from winding up in another world war or any war ever again. Very, very hopeful. It doesn't work. He didn't want revenge, though, on Germany. And it makes sense because America came into the war pretty late, so they weren't as affected as the other two countries were. So he wasn't looking to punish Germany as harsh as the other ones. In the middle there, we have David Lloyd George. He was just that. He was in between France and the US. He wanted to punish Germany, but he also wanted them to recover financially. Because Great Britain did a lot of business with Germany, he didn't want them to go down into the gutter, because if Germany's doing well, Great Britain was doing well too. So he was thinking about this from a financial standpoint. We can't destroy this country because that's not going to be good for the rest of Europe. All right. And then, of course, Georges Clemenceau on the far left, he wanted to completely crush and annihilate Germany. Because France fought the harshest and they fought a lot of the war with the trenches in France, his country suffered an amazing damages, amazing loss. So he really wanted to stick it to Germany bad. And he wanted to make sure that they would never, ever recover. So in the end, it was basically a compromise between all three of these gentlemen here. And they settled on a few different agreements in the Treaty of Versailles.